Welcome back, guys, to Football Dynasties. I'm your host, Dell. This is going to be our Week 6 review. Week 7 is a few hours away, so hopefully you're getting this before that game starts. Before we get started with the review, tonight's game, we're predicting Denver over the Saints, 23-16. The Saints without pretty much their entire offensive wide receiving core. No Olave, concussion. Rashid Shaheed just got put on IR with a meniscus tear. They're not sure if he's going to be out for the season, but he is definitely on IR, so we'll be gone for sure for 4 games. Rookie quarterback. Everything just points to Denver getting that win. Sean Payton back at home. An emotional game for them. So Denver, we're going with Denver 23-16. Let's get to the Week 6 review. So let's start it out with the game in London. Caleb Williams. Man, oh man, that dude is getting better as the weeks go on. 4 TDs, had a 5th touchdown, but DJ Moore was called short on the inch-yard line. It happens, it is what it is, but still, he was able to add another 56 yards on the ground. If he can continue to do that, he is going to just be a stud for fantasy. DeAndre Swift, 91 yards, another touchdown. So that backfield, a few weeks ago, we were pretty much saying it was going to start being a split carries back there. But the opponents that the Bears have had the last few weeks has kind of let DeAndre Swift take a hold of that number 1 spot again. But it's going to be tough for them going forward. They are on a bye right now. We get to see them back. And they will be back against Washington, which will be a fun game in Week 8. Caleb versus Jaden. Can't wait to see that game. Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, 2 TDs apiece. Keenan Allen showed why he was a monster target for the Chargers. So hopefully for the Bears, he will do the same. Although it's taken away from DJ Moore. But, I mean, if DJ Moore gets that touchdown, he has a decent day on the ground or in the air. But, you know, we can't overreact to one game. I still think DJ Moore, he still leads the team in targets, so that's going to continue to be the same thing. So, nothing to worry about there. Keenan was due. We'll see how it progresses as the season goes. The Jaguars, man, oh man, that defense, if you have any players playing against the Jaguars that week, we are going to go ahead and start them and give them a full go. Trevor Lawrence looked okay for fantasy. 2 touchdowns, 230 over the air. ETN, shoulder injury, now hamstring injury, considered week to week. Tank Bigsby, though, he got a little bit of a ankle tape job there that everybody was kind of thinking he was pulled out because of that fumble on that return. Turns out he's got a slight ankle issue. Dearness Johnson came in. He looked okay. 6 carries, 28 yards. Nothing crazy there. A couple more receptions for 16 yards. So maybe going into the week, he may be the number 1 running back, but I still think Tank, all reports coming out of practice this week are saying that he is good to go. 100% or not, we shall see. But I still think as long as Etienne is out, Tank is going to be your guy there. Evan Ingram, boy, oh boy, were we wrong last week. 10 catches, 100 yards. Nobody saw that coming. But, hey, if this guy is going to get that amount of targets and that amount of yardage from week to week, you're for sure going to keep starting him every week. I don't see that lasting very long, but good for him. He's back from injury. 100 yards, good game. Gabe Davis looks like he was the guy that week. 2 touchdowns, 45 yards. We're not really seeing a whole lot of offense where we're going, I want this dude, that dude. Probably still, unless he ends up getting hurt, ETN is probably the only starter. Brian Thomas Jr. was looking good going up into that week, had a quiet week. So I'm expecting him, though, to pick it up next week. The Jaguars next week will be hosting the Patriots again in London. The Jaguars tend to play well in London, but this year's team is a little bit different. So we'll see how it goes. They got a rookie quarterback they're going to be playing against in Drake May. So possibly can be a decent game for the Jags. Let's move on to the next game. Jordon Love. Man, oh man. I'm just going to start out by saying this. I think 4 deep and their tight end, the Green Bay Packers might have the best receiving core. Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, and you throw in Tucker Kraft at tight end. You got Josh Jacobs at running back. I mean, all these guys, man, they're all studs. They can all do it week to week. So it's getting even harder to say, hey, you want to start this dude for the Packers. Obviously, if you have one of these guys, it's probably not a bad flex option if you don't have any other choice. Watson with a touchdown, Dobbs with 2 touchdowns, Jaden Reed with a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks was the quiet game this week. Jordon Love, 4 TDs. So, yeah, that receiving core, I don't know which other receiving core you'd rather have. You can make an argument, maybe the Texans receiving core, Nico, Diggs, and Tank, but their tight end isn't as strong as Tucker Kraft. So the Packers, man, yeah, they might have the best receiving core. Put in the comments if you got anybody else that you think kind of rivals that. But right now, 1 through 4 and their tight end, I'm going to take the Packers core all day right now. On the Cardinals side of the ball, Marvin Harrison went out with a concussion very, very early in the game. But as this week has progressed, it looks like he will be back. They're saying he's practicing in full today. So fingers crossed. I mean, when I saw the tackle, it looked more like, his neck kind of got squished in a little bit. Didn't necessarily look like a big concussion. Not like Olave's. Olave, he looked like he was just staring at stars when he was out. But Marvin looked all right. He was able to walk off. He didn't look like he got knocked out or anything like that. So we're hoping for Marvin to come back. Kyler Murray, the man's got to run the football a little bit more, because if he has these quiet passing days like this and it continues to happen, he may not be a starting quarterback for us in fantasy. He might end up falling down and just being a streamer. But hey, I still believe in Kyler. I still believe in Marvin. We'll see kind of how it gets going forward. They do have the Chargers on Monday night. And like I told my buddy Chad earlier, it may be over at halftime with that Chargers defense. But hey, you never know. So we'll see how they do. Moving on to the Colts-Titans game. Let's talk about the Colts first, because the Titans, they don't have a whole lot going on. Joe Flacco, Pittman, and Josh Downs are going to be very, very sad when Joe Flacco has to sit down and they're going to put Anthony Richardson in. Flacco, another 2 TDs over the air. Down 66 and a touchdown. Pittman, 35 and a touchdown. They're loving life with Flacco at the quarterback position. The Colts definitely need Jonathan Taylor back. Goodson and Sermon, they're splitting carries. Sermon out-carried Goodson this week. So if you have Trey Sermon or Tyler Goodson, or Goodson, sorry, I might have messed that one up. It's going to be tough to say, hey, who's going to get the go this week? It might be just one of those where they're going to end up going with whoever's running hotter that day. So as far as the Colts backfield for this upcoming week, I don't like it very much, but we'll see what happens. We'll touch on that on starts and sits over the weekend. The Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, 16 of 27 for 95 yards. I saw a stat the other day where my man Derrick Henry's got 705 rushing yards to Will Levis's 695 passing yards. Phil, I'm sorry, buddy, but y'all should not have let Derrick Henry go. I mean, that's terrible. But what are you going to do? You got nothing else. Throw Mason Rudolph back in there. They were able to move the ball against Miami when Mason Rudolph went in there, and they were able to score a lot more points than Levis. Bright spot, though, Tony Pollard definitely looks like he's going to be the number one for sure going forward. 93 on the ground and a touchdown. That's pretty much all the Titans have on offense right now. Calvin Ridley, very, very quiet. 1 catch, 9 yards. He's getting a lot of targets, though. He's just not catching them, or they're not within range for him to catch them. So, hey, Titans offense, picking 1, 2, and 3 this upcoming season. You're going to get your pick at Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, a lot of quarterbacks coming out this year. Very early to talk about the draft, but at this point, that's where it's heading. The Texans and the Patriots, Drake May with the rookie debut. Not bad for fantasy. I mean, yeah, they got their butts kicked, but 3 touchdowns, Drake May, every week, sign me up. 38 rushing yards, 100% I'm putting this kid in. He might be a streamer candidate this weekend if you are in need of a quarterback and you play in 10-man leagues. He's definitely available in most of those leagues, especially 1 quarterback leagues. Superflex leagues might be a bit harder because he probably already got drafted. But if you're in a 1 quarterback league, Drake may be available. He's playing the Jaguars. We all know what happens to the Jags. So Drake May, hey, if you need a quarterback, go ahead and plug him in. Demario Douglas looked good over the air, 92 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. And I was bagging on this dude last week. He looked like he can be old reliable, but he's another one of those guys that can't stay on the field. I'm still not going to put my full faith in Hunter Henry just yet. Jalen Polk, we thought would be maybe the go-to guy. Only had 1 catch on 3 targets, 4 yards. So going forward, look for Drake May to kind of just distribute the ball. We don't know who is going to be his number 1 target just yet. Off of game 1, I would say, hey, Demario Douglas, but you never know. On the Texans side of the ball, Joe Mixon, looks like Joe Mixon chugging along. He looked like he had a hard time on that long run, like 40-yard run on that left side. He was pumping, dude. He was trying to get down in that end zone, but he doesn't have the wheels he used to. But still 102 yards and a touchdown. We'll take that. The one thing that impressed me the most with the Texans offense this weekend, though, was Dameon Pierce. I mean, he looked great, man. He's been out with an injury. He is now back. He is definitely not a guy that you do not want on your team. So if he is available, I would have Dameon Pierce ready to go, especially with the Joe Mixon injury this season already. Dameon Pierce looked great. Stephon Diggs benefiting hugely that Nico is out. Keep starting Diggs. 6 catches, 77 yards and a touchdown. Tank Stiting finally 57 over the air and a touchdown. So without Nico, you can kind of see the difference, right? I mean, Diggs was getting touchdowns earlier on in the year, but it was on like 30 yards, 25 yards receiving. So for fantasy, that's not going to be something that we can rely on a whole lot. But while Nico is out, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell for sure. I'll put them in my lineups. CJ Stroud, another 3-touchdown game. Love to see it. Hopefully, CJ keeps on going. And let's move on to our next game. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Tampa Bay hilt New Orleans 51-27. 27 unanswered points in the second half alone. Baker Mayfield, what a game he had. 3 interceptions, but 4 touchdowns and 325 over the air will kind of cancel that out for you. A couple of those picks were not necessarily on him. One of them like bounced off the neon of the DB there, so that one was freaking weird. Sean Tucker, though, on the ground and over the air was kind of the explosive must get to guy that everybody was hyped about. I didn't see it that way. Bucky Irving is still a solid running back. Rachaad White, for all you Rachaad White haters, he's still a good RB. Obviously, we just saw a report this morning, Todd Bowles saying that we're going to ride the hot hand. I mean, that doesn't go well if you're a Rachaad White owner. But, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's not the starter anymore. He's still listed as their number one on the depth chart. So as long as he's having an okay game, I don't see them splitting it three ways. If anything, Bucky's stock is the one that took a hit this week. If he sold him high last week, good job. Now his stock is probably back to pretty level. Rachaad White only has a year left on his contract. So that's something to keep an eye on with Bucky going forward. He still has his 4 years left with the team. So Rachaad White, if he doesn't get re-signed, we've all seen they don't want to pay the running backs anymore. So probably Bucky will end up getting that backfield all to his own next season. Maybe. Chris Godwin, man, this dude's having a heck of a season. Another 100-yard plus game, 2 TDs. I think he's wide receiver 2 or 3 on the season right now, depending on the formats. But this dude with Mike Evans, they are making Baker Mayfield look like, why did Cleveland let him go? Why did the Panthers let him go? He had that one game with the Rams. We all knew he wasn't going to stay there for very long. But still, Baker is back. And I just can't wait to keep watching Tampa Bay games this season. A lot of star skill players that they have. On the other side of the field, Spencer Rattler, rookie QB, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, kind of a rookie start, kind of what you expected. Alvin Kamara, 40 yards and a touchdown. The cool little bright spot though was Bub Means, the rookie wide receiver. He had 45 yards and a touchdown, and Bub tonight will probably be the number 1 receiver. So against that Broncos defense, no Pat Surtain, Ladd McConkey was able to get himself double-digit fantasy points. So if I'm being honest with you, if you got Bub Means and you need a flex starter bad, he might not be a bad option for tonight's game. Again, just a quick reminder, I talked about it earlier, but Rashid Shaheed, IR, out 4 weeks, potentially the season. And Olave will be missing the game with the concussion. And the game of the week for me that I was looking forward to watching the most was Jayden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. Lamar and the Ravens came out on top 30-23. Jayden Daniels, another solid game. 269 over the air, 2 touchdowns. Added another 22 on the ground. Zach Ertz led the squad in targets. I believe he had 6 or 7. No touchdown. Terry McLaurin, though, ended up being the benefactor of fantasy this week. 2 touchdowns, 53 yards. Scary Terry is back. They got this man for another season. He is 28. Not sure how long he will stick around with Jayden. I think Washington will probably end up drafting a receiver next year. And if that's the case, that's definitely going to be a receiver that we're going to keep our eyes on, because Jayden is making all of these guys look good. But it was all Baltimore pretty much the majority of the day. Lamar Jackson, 323 in the air and a touchdown. He added another 40 on the ground. But Derrick Henry, man, I don't know how you guys are going to stop this offense. Yeah, the RPO with Lamar and Henry is just lethal this season, man. Henry, another 130 and 2 TDs. I just don't see how Baltimore gets stopped. They got off to that slow start at the beginning of the season, but they finally worked out the little kinks. Harbaugh said we didn't bring Henry in to run the ball 30 times, and yet when he runs it between 20 and 25 times, you are 4-0 this year. I think you should continue to give it to Derrick Henry. I am no football expert, but I think all of us can agree, run Derrick Henry, and Lamar will be able to do what he did today, which is give it to Zay Flowers for 130 yards and just continue to just kill, dude. I mean, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry combo is not sure how we let that happen. Not sure how the Cowboys let that happen. There's a couple of other teams, I can't remember which ones, but hey, Henry went to the right spot for him. One last thing on the game, Mark Andrews sighting 66 in the air and a touchdown. If he can keep doing that, then we're going to keep starting him. But again, we don't know with the tight ends how it's been this year. It's been so up and down. Such a weird season for tight ends. But hey, it's getting a little bit better. I wanted to touch on a couple more games real fast. The Raiders-Steelers. Steelers killed them there. I wanted to talk about the game because a couple of changes. Pittsburgh, it looks like they're going to sit Justin Fields this upcoming week for Russell Wilson. You're 4-2 with Fields. He hasn't really been the reason why you lose the games, but I guess you can make the case that he's not the reason why you're winning the games because of your defense. Russ probably brings a little bit more to the table as far as for the receivers do. So we'll see how that happens. I'm sure George Pickens is kind of happy with that. On the Raiders side of the ball, I covered that big news. Devontae is now gone. So if you are a Brock Bowers owner, oh boy, this guy just became the only thing the Raiders have going on offense. And we are going to ride this man to a championship 1 year, maybe. I do have him. He was drafted number 1 in our rookie draft because I had the first 5 picks. And I wanted to make sure that the ADP got all screwed up because I put Brock Bowers at number 1. But anyways, if you are a Brock Bowers guy, he is going to kill it, I think, for the rest of the season. He might not give you the Sam Laporta numbers that he did last season, but hey, you never know what will happen, especially now that he is the number 1 go-to target. And the last game that I wanted to talk about today, Lions 47, Cowboys 9. I don't know what's wrong with the Cowboys. I thought for sure this was going to be a Dak 300-plus yard game, and it turned out to not be. I mean, they don't have a lot going on offense. Their run game does not exist. With Micah Parsons out on defense, they can't stop anyone. I don't think it's over for the Cowboys by any means. They are 3-3. They're still hanging in there. But Jared Goff and the Lions, oh man, if the Raiders are on a fire sale, and this is just because I wish it would happen, but it's not going to. They lost Aiden Hutchinson to that nasty injury, out for the year, broken fibula, tibula. Go get Max Crosby. You know what I'm saying? You want to win a Super Bowl. You guys look like a contender 100%. You lost your pass rusher. Go get another one. Go get Max Crosby. And then in 2 seasons' time, you'll have Max Crosby on one end and Aiden Hutchinson on the other. Because your window is now. You don't need a first-round pick next season. Trade that. Trade whatever you have to get. Trade whatever you can to get that dude on your squad. Wishful thinking, probably not going to happen. But just a suggestion. Jared Goff, 315, 3 touchdowns. I mean, finally, we got to see what we've been hoping for. Montgomery and Gibbs splitting carries in the backfield again. Montgomery, the beneficiary of the touchdowns this week. He just got an extension, so keep your eye on that. He got a 2-year extension, which means Jahmyr Gibbs, we still know how good this kid is. But it's looking like for the next couple seasons, well, 3 seasons because he got the extension now, he's going to be splitting carries with Montgomery. Obviously, Gibbs as a receiver is a lot better than David is. But he's definitely going to be losing that red zone offense more than likely. He's probably not going to get as many touches. But going forward, just keep an eye on it. You might want to sell Gibbs right now while you can, because you can still get a lot for him. He's still very valuable. On the receiving side, Jameson Williams, 76 yards and a touchdown. Laporta, 1 catch, 52 yards that went all the way to the house. That's another tight end. Again, I keep saying it, and I might have to keep on saying it until it stops, but the tight ends this season have not been that great. But the last couple of weeks, arrows pointing up. St. Brown also with a touchdown. And the Lions dominated the Cowboys. Guys, thank you for listening. We have our starts and sits coming up on Saturday. We'll get that to you right around 1 or 2 o'clock. I hope you guys have a good one. Like, follow, subscribe. If you have any comments, put it down in the section below. I will see you guys on Saturday.